Danny Parkins, co-host Breakfast Ball, the winner of the mythical FS1 NFL Picks Championship. It should be noted, it's just like the USA Today High School Basketball Championship. It's all mythical, so let's not go crazy on this shit.
Listen, it is definitely true that I only made it a competition between you, me, and Nick once I started to crush it and distance myself from the field.
Yeah.
That so, going into next year, if I start 4-9, it's just luck. But when I'm crushing it, it's skill, and you guys are in a competition you didn't even know you had entered.
Yeah, I had no
Yeah.
idea. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. You know, I said I've had three of my favorite shows. I would say in the last 10 years, I have had the last three shows in a row. I've had about as much fun as I can have at this point of 30 years of doing
Wow.
it. So, because I love free agency, I love the movement, I love when stuff breaks on the show. Um, I sometimes I think, the audience thinks we love football and football season, but I actually find it more challenging when the season's over and we have to sit there for 2 hours in the morning and figure out ways to be
Yeah.
compelling, and there's not a lot
Yeah.
out there. So this week, it's basically you've got B-level players, sometimes C-plus players transitioning to bad teams. And yet I had so much damn fun this week. And I want to start with the Bears because I honestly, and I don't remember the last time I thought this, it's obvious Ben Johnson now runs the
Correct.
organization because he basically, by acquiring a guard, a center, a guard, is telling Ryan Poles, your picks were not good. You know the organization well. That's my take. Is there are certain coaches. Vrabel in New England is running the show. Belichick for years ran the show. McVay's got a lot of power in Los Angeles. Whereas Brett Veach really runs personnel because Andy Reid doesn't want to do it. Sean Payton's running Denver. Didn't it feel like to you this is all Ben Johnson's stamp?
So I've heard you say this, and I think that you're like 85 to 90% correct. Um, Ben Johnson clearly now outranks Ryan Poles. And it's not a
Yeah,
straight like who makes more money, but it kind of is. Ben Johnson makes
yeah,
considerably more money than Ryan Poles. And obviously Ryan Poles' stock is down, and Ben Johnson's stock could not have been higher. So Ben Johnson has more say. And the Jonah Jackson move is directly tied to Ben Johnson. And that was the first move that happened. They traded a late round pick for a guard from the Rams who had been a former Pro Bowler. But before he was with the Rams, he had been with the Lions and Ben Johnson. Obviously, the Lions have the best offensive line, them and the Eagles in the NFL. He knows how valuable that is. I think Ryan Poles has taken a little too much heat in this regard. He was Matt Ryan's offensive lineman at BC. He is a former
yeah,
offensive lineman. He was on a practice squad in the NFL as an offensive lineman. His first ever first round pick, because the first year he didn't have a first round pick because the previous regime had traded one
yeah,
away to acquire Justin Fields. So his first year, his first draft, he had two second round picks, and he took uh, Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, who are both starting players in the secondary. And then the next year, when he had the ninth overall pick, he traded down one spot, passed up Jalen Carter. I disagreed with it, but he
yeah,
didn't think the organization was ready for the headache. And he took Darnell Wright, who looks like he's going to be the right tackle for the team for 10 years. Maybe not an
yeah.
all pro, but he looks damn good. Like he's
Yeah, good
going to get
player.
a set. And some of the draft people were like, should it have been Broderick Jones, the guy who went, I think, 17 to the Steelers, who wasn't able to start for a year plus
Right.
and definitely is not guaranteed to be a 10-year starter in the NFL. And then, so I think first time he had a first round pick, he drafted a tackle. He gave Nate Davis money. Nate Davis had a pretty good reputation. Mark Schlereth has told me that he's like, Nate Davis was one of my favorite guards in the NFL when he was in Tennessee. Atlanta tapered off a little bit. Bears paid him. And it looks like Nate Davis got paid and stopped trying. Like, And
Yeah.
so, but it's not like that guy didn't have good tape, and it's not like people didn't like him, and it's not like that wasn't a significant investment in the offensive line. Tevin Jenkins was a former second round pick as a tackle who he moved to left guard, Ryan Poles did, and he was a better
Yeah.
guard than tackle, but then he got hurt and he can't stay on the field. And he never invested in center, which has been a disaster. The Bears literally haven't had a good center since Olin Kreutz. And left tackle is Braxton Jones, who I would not say is good, but I would also not say is bad. He's a like
Yeah.
replacement level player that Ryan Poles drafted in the fifth round out of Southern Utah. That's a draft win. What happened last year was a mediocre offensive line got hurt with a rookie
Yeah.
quarterback and you fired your play caller and your head coach. So you couldn't scheme around it. The offensive line was a disaster. Your quarterback got hit 68 times and it became a fire alarm. Like, we are going to get Caleb Williams killed. We are like really flirting with David Carr level of sabotage here if we don't overhaul it. So that's long-winded and maybe a little bit more in the weeds than people that don't follow the Bears want to know. But like, I don't think it's that Ryan Poles doesn't prioritize the offensive line. I think it's that when he took over, he had such limited resources with draft capital that it took a while. And last year was never supposed to be a good offensive line, but it wasn't supposed to be that bad. And
Right.
I think that anybody would have spent on the offensive line this offseason, but Ben Johnson kind of turbocharged it. And so he gets credit for it, but I have a hard time believing that a smart guy who came up under Brett Veach, who, by the way, I'll add one more detail. He was the director of college personnel in Kansas City when they lost that Super Bowl to Tampa. And in the offseason, they signed Joe Thuney. They drafted Creed Humphrey and they drafted Trey Smith. Creed Humphrey now set the market at center. Trey Smith set the market at guard. And now Joe Thuney's a Bear and he was an All-Pro for a couple of years in Kansas City. So like he was in Kansas City when Mahomes got killed in a Super Bowl. They brought in 3 new offensive linemen. He's the GM in Chicago when Caleb Williams got killed. They brought in 3 offensive linemen, one of whom is literally the same guy they brought in Kansas City. So I think Ryan Poles knows about the offensive line, cares about the offensive line, prioritizes the offensive line. He just made a couple of bad mistakes. Nate Davis, most principally, not investing in a real center, probably right behind it. And he underestimated how little depth he had to protect Caleb Williams last year.
Is there anything that I mean, they have the Vikings back to back in London. I don't like Minnesota like everybody else. I think they're a 4th place team. Was there anything about the schedule that jumped out to you?
I think when you look at, I lump Minnesota and Chicago in the same thing. Like I got 30 years of history. Green Bay every year, for the most part, is 10 plus wins, right?
Right.
And the Lions now, I think, have established themselves. What happens in the playoffs, who knows? But they're going to be a double-digit win team. When
Yeah.
you look at the Bears and you look at Minnesota, because of the divisions that they drew this year in the rotation, it's hard. And the pressure, listen, this Caleb thing, I'm sure we'll talk about it. A lot of pressure on him, a lot of pressure on the Bears, a lot of pressure on McCarthy. And the pressure's not like on DJ Moore or Justin Jefferson, it's squarely on the quarterback. And these games, like you said, you open your NFL career at Chicago. Like that's tough. And hell, you could argue the same thing on the flip side about at Caleb Williams, your first game with his new coach, Monday night, everyone watching. Like these are just intense environments on these two
Right.
quarterbacks. Now Caleb has some seasoning, like JJ does not in terms of ever played a regular season game. But I think those two schedules for those two guys, not every team in this division can win 10 plus games. One of these teams is going to go 8 or 9 or worse, right? It's going to be one of those two teams. I don't know which one. Like I know Kevin O'Connell can be a head coach. I love the Vikings roster, but man, this guy's never started a regular season game. If you told me right now he's a top 15 quarterback, I'd be like, they'll win 10 or 11 games, no problem. But if you tell me it's Rocky, I don't care how you could have 10 Justin Jeffersons. If your quarterback plays overwhelmed, it's hard. I mean, we see it every year. Good teams, their quarterback plays poor.
Well,
They're
and
screwed.
and Packers drafted a first round wide receiver. The Lions are stacked offensively. The Bears have spent a fortune on their offensive line. J.J. McCarthy is going to have to throw the ball 35 times. This is not a defensive division. This is not the AFC North. This is the NFC North, and it is going to be a track meet. And so that's my question with J.J. McCarthy. I would feel differently if you were in a different division. But Detroit is stacked offensively with the best O-line in the league. You can say what you want about Ben Johnson's going to be better with Caleb Williams than Matt Eberflus, and Dahlman and Tooney change the offensive line.
Yeah.
And then Green Bay's Green Bay. They went and got another wide receiver, which tells you we're going to make this Jordan Love thing work. And it wasn't terrible last year. There was some bumps. So my thing is McCarthy, who never threw the ball at Michigan, is going to be asked to throw the ball 40 times a game, a lot, because either they'll be trailing or they'll be in shootouts. This is going to be a shootout division. So I just don't love them with that as the marquee to the movie.
But do you feel comfortable? I mean, listen, we have a strong recent history of these young offensive coordinators hitting the ground running and being stars. Some of them get overwhelmed historically in the league. Like Ben Johnson, this is not an easy first job, right? It's like Saleh with the Jets. A lot of people are watching. There's a ton of hype. The Caleb stuff is already, even though it's weird, right? Everything we're talking about today in this article is based on something 18 months ago. It's not like he just said this yesterday, but still, I mean, this is something that carries with you. I think there's a ton of pressure on him because I would say the same thing about Caleb. Like, he's just gonna outduel the LaFleur's offense and the Lions group. I mean, it's gonna be hard. Like, he's gonna get in some shootouts. You know, he kind of freelance. Now he's more comfortable. He has a history. He is used to. I've been in shootouts. I can play like that. JJ was not. I mean, JJ was on a team that, I mean, was the big Ohio State is always built like an SEC team, but Harbaugh built that thing like an SEC team with unlimited NFL players where they hand the ball off and they play defense. So yeah,
that's right.
One of those two teams, I got to give it a little more time, but it's just not going to go as well as the hype because the expectations, I would say for Minnesota, they have what do you think? A top 6-7 roster in the NFL minus the quarterback. I mean, they got one of the better teams in the NFL, top to bottom. Yeah. And I'd say the Bears have a pretty damn good roster too.
Oh, I totally think Chicago's offensive. You go line, tight end, receivers, and Ben Johnson. I just don't see. Go look at Hackett to Sean Payton. It was a touchdown to 8 points a game, and I think Eberflus to Ben Johnson is probably somewhere between a field goal and 6 points a game. Just more comfort.
But here's the thing, though, Colin, and this is what I get back to with the coordinator. Ben with Detroit, who was just became like Kyle Shanahan or McVay or whoever, all he had to worry about was the plays, right? Now on Monday, what happens when your backup safety got a DUI? On Tuesday, hey, this guy, turns out he shattered his ankle. Like, you have all this other stuff coming. You can't just sit there and scheme plays nonstop, especially as a first-time head coach. And then when the game's going on, you got to manage the clock. You got a lot going on for the first time ever. It's just a tougher transition, and that's where Kevin O'Connell, to me, has a big advantage. He is used to just being the play caller / the boss. Like, there is a learning. If you told me, hey, John, you not only need to get all the content and record a podcast, we now need you to run the sales and the graphics and do some cuts. You need to do like there'd be a curve for a couple months of me figuring out how to manage everything, right? So I'm always just hesitant when it comes to guys, first-time head coaches. Like, think how much easier Pete Carroll. He's sitting in that desk. He's very comfortable in, telling who what to do when. Like, he's just done it before. So that's the only thing. And I'm not anti-Ben Johnson. I mean, what he did the last couple of years was awesome. It is just a lot harder taking on a lot more responsibility and trying to maintain your boy genius kind of narrative the way everyone talks about him. Like,
sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. The Caleb thing is funny. So I went on Chicago radio a year ago before the draft. And I don't do a lot of local radio shows because I don't know who the people are. And, you can get burned. But I knew I was going to move to Chicago. So I go on the Chicago radio station. I forget which one. And I say, I'm being told that it's Caleb Williams would ideally, his dad would not want him to go to Chicago, but he's going to bite the bullet and he loves the city and he wants to be the first great Bears quarterback. Well, I go off the air and somebody sends me something or a clip or something where they basically dogged my sources. Coward doesn't know anything. Well, it comes out Seth Wickersham basically today came out and said, yeah, basically his dad didn't want him to go there. He's got multiple quotes. And I'm like, well, may have been that Seth and I had some of the same sources. He had agents. Apparently, Seth had talked to his dad. There had been multiple agents. I didn't get it from Caleb's dad, but I did get it from people very close to Caleb. And so I think it was the same station reached out and said, hey, you want to come back on and spike the football? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass on that. I'm not bitter, but it's like,
Yeah.
if I give you if I give you the time, don't question my sources. You don't have to like my opinion, but I wouldn't go on and make stuff up. So, and the truth was, and I was
Well, because
thinking about this
didn't
today.
Caleb kind of come out, or like some of his people right away after you said that, and say it's kind of
Right, right,
BS?
right. Yeah. Well, they said we're good. We're good. Of course they did.
Yeah.
They don't. And like I knew the game. That's why I didn't react to that. I knew what was going on. I knew what I'd been told. And I knew it was the truth. Somebody who'd been good never burned me. It was fourth or fifth time I'd gotten good information from somebody. But the point was, I didn't blame him. I said, yeah, if my son was a quarterback, I wouldn't want him to play for the Bears. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer. That's literally impossible. That's like driving a car for your entire life and never having like a parking ticket or a speeding ticket. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable, right? Like, and so and when the story came out today, my take is it just doesn't bother me. Like they looked into, what could they do legally, and they said, yeah, the only way around it's just to do an Elway and go public, and let's just not do it. But it doesn't bother me. We've got an Eli situation, we've got an Elway, and I think the Bears are historically unique. It's they've just never done that position right. Does it bother you now that Seth Wickersham comes out and says, yeah, they thought about making a stink?
No, I mean, ultimately, I don't really give a shit, but I would say this. I don't think it helps Caleb. And I always take the stance of like, I never blame, wives, parents. Their relationship with a player is so much different than everyone else, right? So that they are so much closer to the son emotionally. It doesn't bother me. I know people with Oklahoma. I was hearing a long time ago that his dad's a lot. That's part of college sports. You deal a lot with the parents. In the pros, nobody wants to hear from mom or dad. Not a soul. We're paying Caleb $40 million guaranteed. Let's throw 30 touchdowns. And I think his comments sometimes, like, he's trying to be a supportive dad. No one has any issue with that. Jaden Daniels' mom forces all the floozies to stay away from her son. Well, guess
Yeah,
what? Her son's playing really well in football. She doesn't talk anything about his professional life. It's all his personal stuff. This guy comes out and makes comments about the CBA is unconstitutional, the rookie wage scale. Well, why did they create a rookie wage scale? Because guys like Jamarcus Russell were scamming the league where the veterans weren't getting the money. So
right.
Caleb, if that rookie wage scale hadn't been, so when you make comments like that, people kind of look side-eyed. Listen, and the other thing that really comes through is Ryan Poles is quoted in there like, "We're taking you, buddy. So get ready." Like this, you talk about this a lot. Player empowerment. The NFL doesn't really roll like that. I would
Right.
say this if you're Ryan Poles, like, Adam Peters. Do you think Adam Peters right now would trade Jaden Daniels for Caleb Williams in this
No.
situation? And then here's the other thing. A lot of Caleb wasn't making these comments about the CBA or
Yeah.
going to the UFL. It was coming from his dad. But all these comments get aggregated. And a lot of the players in the league see this and they're like, who does this kid think he is? And I
Right.
just think it adds pressure. And again, I would be more worked up if these comments came last week or 2 weeks ago. This was last January, February, before he got into the NFL. But I'm sorry, it just does not help his situation. It adds pressure. It just adds a lot of craziness to the situation. New coach, and they get to start fresh. But I just think that like we just need to calm down and just win some games and throw some touchdowns before you start. Remember last year the equity talk? We want in on the franchise. You're going to go to the UFL and sit out a year. Like, give me a break, And look, again, this is his dad. Not it's Caleb's not saying I'm going to the UFL. And at the end of the day, all these comments didn't come true. He went to the Bears, and what they were not wrong about the coaching staff. I mean, that was a disaster, which we all knew coming in. But I think sometimes with a very aggressive parent like this, and I haven't seen a quote from Caleb's dad since he got in the league, you got to be careful about saying some of this stuff because your son has to cash those checks on the field. So I just think if you're the Bears, like you're like, oh my God, when you see this come out. Because again, didn't he write a book on a bunch of quarterbacks? And
Yeah.
this is the thing that gets cut. And this is, the headlines going viral, getting sent around. I'm telling you, Adam Peters goes to bed like, God, my quarterback's just no issues, no problems. And it's just sometimes it's your family, but man, you just don't want to have to deal with any of this, especially when you're not making plays. I mean, it did not go well.
Yeah, I think he's set up for success now. I mean, we were talking about it in the show today. Tua and Jared Goff had bad first years and bad relationships with coaches, or at least coaches that didn't get them. I do think there's more good offensive coaching than ever before in the league. And your second or third team, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Baker got Liam Cohen and McVay after Freddie Kitchens. Like, it does sometimes take a while. It used to be if your first place didn't work, there just weren't that many great offensive coaches in the league, and they weren't leaving places where they were located. Now, guys, it's a much more mobile society. There's good offensive coaches. If you have 1 or 2 good years at a place, you're a head coach if you're an offensive coach. So you can actually have a hiccup in your first stop and maybe your second and maybe get a third shot. So I think that bodes well for Caleb. Like a Jared Goff, I didn't think he stood a chance last year. I think it's much more set up to succeed. So I want to end with this. So you would, and I would admit this too. I've moved around the country. People know that. Generally, when I move around the country, the only sports team that I tend to, it's hard because I love football so much. When I lived in Tampa, I was kind of a Bucks fan. Okay. I grew up in the Northwest. I was a Seahawk fan. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a Ram and Charger fan. I try not to be a homer on the air, but I know people in the front office. I have contacts there. Now I moved to Chicago. I've already got connections with the Bears, right? So I'm talking to people. And you grew up here. So I've always understood that. Bill Simmons loves the Celtics. You're going to love your teams. I get it, right? And the audience understands. You're still objective. But I said this this week on the show on FS1. I said, I'm going to take 5 quarterbacks I'm not going to take a Justin Herbert, overrated, Jalen Hurts, underrated. I'm not going to take guys on the fringe. I'm going to take Andrew Luck, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. Who else did I take? CJ Stroud. I took somebody else. I took 5 of them. And I didn't take Mahomes. I took Lamar Jackson. So I said, let's get Mahomes, Allen out. Okay. They're like historically great. So I took 5 guys that none of us are going to argue. They're all great. How long, once they had a competent coach, did it take for you to go, oh shit, that's a franchise guy? So CJ Stroud did not throw an interception until week 6. Pretty obvious he was different. Lamar Jackson won 6 of his first 7. And by the second game, you were wondering if he was even faster than Michael Vick. He was electric. Joe Burrow, weeks 2 and 3, is throwing for 350 yards behind an absolutely atrocious offensive line with a coach nobody liked. Jaden Daniels, weeks 2, 3, and 4, he's completing like 28 of 31. You're like, okay, this is a cheat code. What is going on? And so I went down and through all of them. So now I bring you to Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So again, Goff with Jeff Fisher, Goff with McVay. By week 2, he's throwing for 350 yards. You're like, oh, Jared Goff can play. Yeah, like he's beating Mahomes in a shootout on Monday Night Football. You're like, pretty early in his career, you're like, oh yeah, this dude can play. So first week, my take is good, not great is hard to spot. Real deal and sucks jumps off the page. So week 1, Caleb Williams faces Brian Flores at home. Perfect weather. Let's say he struggles. Brian Flores has been punitive to young quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams is bad. What is your take? Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video.
I won't be handling it well, Colin. I'll tell you that. I won't be handling it well. He needs to be very good right away. But here's the thing. Obviously, I watched every down of the Bears last year and have for my entire life. He is good. He's good. Now, it was not easy. It was not always pretty, but I trust my eye test here. If you get sacked 68 times and still have better than a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and your play caller got fired 9 games in to your season, and then you fired your coach, and you had controversy and you lost on a Hail Mary, and you had all of that hype and that scrutiny, and the guy who was drafted behind you is having a historic rookie year and goes all the way to the NFC Championship game, and you get your ass kicked and you play all 17 games, and like you're still standing at the end of it, you don't suck. Like bad, you said like good, bad, it's a little, he's not bad. He's not bad. I'm not worried about bad. I still think the guy's ceiling can be MVP of the league. Like I still think greatness is very likely an outcome here. But yeah, week 1, Minnesota, Monday Night Football, week 2, Ben Johnson against his old team. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I will say this. It seems like 40% of the years in the last like decade, the Bears have opened with the Packers. I know that's not actually accurate, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst. Any Bears fan will tell you, Bears Packers, it just is like a different thing. All of our families have some Packers people in it. Like, and for me, it was extreme. My dad's entire family was from Wisconsin. Like, you're in weddings with these people, you work with these people, you're neighbors with these people. Like my old radio station's signal like reaches far into Wisconsin. Like you could hear it in Milwaukee. So like it's just like Bears Packers week 1 is too stressful. There's too many like I can handle Bears Vikings week 1. I can handle Bears Lions week 1. Bears Packers, if Caleb Williams would come out week 1 and get outplayed by Jordan Love and they would lose and he'd throw like 2 picks, that's just like sky is falling type stuff. So I think I can handle Bears Vikings on Monday Night Football week 1, but if he's terrible, I'm not going to be handling it well. It's going to be tough to be neutral. I'll be totally honest with you. That's going to be unfortunate. Yeah. But if he's great, deep dish pizza on TV for everybody.
No, I saw that first game and I went, oh God, Flores, what a nightmare. Flores.
Yeah, it's not a great spot, but again, like, but it can go the other way. Put up 30. Put up 30. We never mention Shane Waldron's name in Chicago ever again. You know what I mean? Like wasted rookie year. Why did you hire? Why didn't you blow it all up and start fresh with Kate? Like put up 30 week 1 and all of your sins are forgiven and we're good.
Yeah. You know, the other thing, Danny, that wasn't true years ago, there's so many good young offensive coaches now in the NFL. Yeah. But it used to be if your first coach didn't work, you were screwed. But like Geno, Darnold, Baker, Tua had Brian Flores, then he was a Pro Bowler. Goff's first year was not only unremarkable, it was unrecognizable. So the truth is now, there are multiple examples. Sam Darnold's a totally different player. It used to be there were like 4 or 5 offensive guys that were next level. Like every other staff has the next Ben Johnson or an offensive coach. So, I mean, God, you go to the AFC alone, it's like, oh, there's Andy Reid, and oh, there's Sean Payton, and there's Jim Harbaugh. And Chip Kelly. In the same division, you have those 4 coaches on staff. So I think we've gotten to a point where if you have a mulligan season, nobody remembers Goff's first season. He was 0-7, I think.
Listen, I mean, in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence showed enough through multiple failed coaches that they still gave him a $250 million contract. They hit on Brian Thomas last year. They draft Travis Hunter this year. They hire Liam Cohen to be their coach, who was a big part of Baker Mayfield's success and Tampa being as consistently great on offense as they've been. Like, he's in year 5. Does Trevor Lawrence enrage me and way too many fumbles and red zone
Yeah,
interceptions? And yeah, no doubt. Like I think that like selling stock on Trevor Lawrence has been totally reasonable. But like his career's not over.
right.
You know, like it's his career is not over. Like if Liam Cohen could do that with Baker, it's definitely on the board that Trevor Lawrence turns this thing around
Yeah.
and rips off 5, 6, 7 really good years and changes the complete narrative of his career. But no, listen, I think it's still much more likely than not that Caleb Williams is great than he is mediocre.
Danny Parkins, FS1. Love him on the volume. Stops by about once, twice a month. As always, this was great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks, Colin. Anytime.
Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video.
People generally speaking fear what they don't understand. You know, maybe you don't, but I think a huge percentage of people fear what they don't understand, and it's complicated, and you don't know where it's going to go. Um, it clearly is the type of thing, though, that is like a tool, right? It's going to make some things worse and a lot of things better. Your small business owner example is a great one. It's going to help that guy's business.
How about this? The internet. It has killed retail, but it took 25 years. Like it killed malls, but it didn't do it in 2 years. And the people that were invested in malls that paid attention 15 years ago were getting out of malls, right? Like, so they got out of the business.
Yeah, sure.
So you're going to have a heads up on stuff. Nothing happens overnight. Even if it kills consultants, it will be over a decade that it will kill consultants because not everybody's going to use AI, just like it took our grandpa and our dad's years to figure out the internet. So
Right.
things just, everything needs to bake. Give you an example of this in sports. So when the college football playoff was announced for 12 teams, eventually 14, 16, it cut right down the middle. There were the people like myself that are like, oh, this is awesome. December is going to be awesome. These bowl games are so dried up. Like, we got 45 bowl games. I watched 4. I thought it was obvious. Like, December now is going to be even better, and December is great with NFL playoffs. And we saw that to be true. But there was another group, including a lot of the media, that said, oh, it's going to kill rivalries. And my take is when Texas played Georgia last year, it was the highest rated game, right? I think before the national championship. That's not a rivalry. People watch good. When Texas plays Ohio State on Fox over the Labor Day weekend, people watch good. And they'll watch it a second time. You watched Oregon, Ohio State the first time.
Sure.
Well, it was a terrible game, but you'll watch it the second time. So my take is it doesn't matter. We watch NFL football. Teams can play 3 times in a season. I remember years the Steelers and Ravens played 3 times. I watched all of them. So that's like, to me, I was shocked by the number of people that were college football fans, like diehards or media, that were like, this is bad. It will kill urgency. Well, what it actually did is it allows teams now, like Ohio State and Texas, to play opening week, and whoever loses is fine. There'll be more big games in December and more big games in September.
Do you think it makes the week 1 game less big, though?
I watch great. Live Golf heads to the JCB Golf and Country Club July 25 through the 28, one of the world's best new courses. The venue will have its own home team, Majestics GC, featuring Ryder Cup legends Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood. So this is the last event before the season enters its final stretch. So there's only 3 events to go after this one, and it's tight at the top of both leaderboards. So in the individual stakes, Joaquin Niemann leads John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. The field features a total of 14 major champions, 16 Ryder Cup stars, including Rahm, DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson. It is an all-star loaded field. If you want to catch any or all of the drama from the JCB Golf and Country Club, follow Every Shot live on Fox Sports.
I know you do. You are a super fan of college football. Michigan, Ohio State last year, the loser of the game wins the national championship.
Yeah.
And on some level, not to a Michigan fan and not to an Ohio State fan, but to a guy who went to Syracuse, it did take away, and I watched it and I will still watch it. It did take away a little bit of the first Michigan Ohio State game because it objectively matters less.
But it didn't take it away in the moment. As Michigan was shocking them as a 20-point dog, it didn't hurt then. In
No.
retrospect, you look back and go, well, it doesn't feel as big. Well, that's like saying a year after you got a Christmas present, I don't feel the same today as I did a year ago when I got the Christmas present.
No, I know, but I guess, but you take the lesson and you go forward with it and you say there is some like the NFL has expanded the playoffs, right? Easier to get in. We love the playoffs. It's more football. Week 17 was terrible because most of the teams were like sitting guys. And teams have been eliminated. And it's like, oh, well, what's the difference between being the 5 seed and the 6 seed? Like, we're in. It doesn't matter. We're gonna sit guys. We're gonna play guys for a quarter. So I think there is a trade-off that comes with more games and all that. And with college football, listen, I understood. I always was like, more games I am going to watch. And
more big games.
More big games I am going to watch. But I had a hard time with the college football argument for the expansion of the playoffs was like, how many times in the BCS era even did you feel like the 5th best team in the country deserved a shot at being the national champion? I didn't think that it existed. Like, and so if your argument is, well, expand the tournament, get them in, and then any given Sunday they can, or any given Saturday they can win it, that's fine. But then it does take away a little bit of the regular season to me. And again, I will watch, but my guess is as they keep expanding this playoff, people will come away with it'll blend together, and the week 6 game is not going to feel as big.
But in mid-October, double the number of teams to triple are still in the hunt for a 14-game playoff or a 12-game playoff, where it used to be, if you lost a game in September, you lost another when you were done. And so the last
no
6
doubt.
weeks of the season, you're out and going to talk. Now, like Ohio State loses to Oregon, then they lose to Michigan. You're like, shit. Oh my God. Ryan Day is going to get fired if they lose to Tennessee. So the story went from winning to Ryan Day's getting blown. Oh, they just blew out Tennessee. Well, he better beat Oregon. Oh, they blew him out. Well, they better beat. So the story changed from just the game to, are they going to blow up Ryan Day's career? So to me, it pivoted from, okay, Ohio State's still going to get in. But remember the story before the Tennessee game? Ryan Day can't lose or he's fired. So there was a different drama. It wasn't, and nobody thought Ohio State, most people, even in Columbus, didn't think they were going to win a natty after losing to Michigan. People were like, no. They were like going overboard.
Yeah, they were. It was insane. And now you're going to get games like Arizona State's going to, they made it and it was a nice story. And then the spread in the game was like 20 points.
Right.
Like for a college football playoff game. It doesn't, that part of it is going to feel a little weird to me because can they win? Yes. But like, was there any part of you that thought that Arizona State could have gone on a run and won the national championship? No.
But
Zero part of you. So it felt a little bit like a waste of time.
Okay. But I think there's only 5 teams that can win the Super Bowl next year going into the season.
But that's just not true. That's just not true.
Well, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore they've just got better players, better coaches.
Yeah.
I think we both think Denver and the Chargers are interesting, but Bo Nix hoisting a trophy seems rare. We know Philadelphia is really, really good, and McVay and the Rams will be there. And then there'll be a couple of really interesting teams. I don't think Brock Purdy now with an older team and a shaky O-line works. But I've been arguing this for years. there's way less parity in the NFL than everybody thinks. And the reason I know that, because for the second year in a row, I can pick the division winners easily in the AFC. And it's getting to the point when picking division winners in the NFL, 6 of 8, is not that difficult.
Okay, but do you think Washington could have won the Super Bowl last year?
No. There's always a shocking team. I had picked the Rams the year before as the shocking team. I picked, by the way, last year, Washington and Denver to be the shocking teams. How did I do that? Well, because I think they were so poorly run with Dan Snyder that all the new guys, easy division wins against Dallas and the Giants. So I actually picked Washington and Denver to be much better. Like this year, I think it's obvious. New England and Tennessee are going to double their win total. So even the surprises are pretty. I've done 4 years in a row where I've picked the double your win team. It's going to be New England this year, and
Chicago,
Tennessee. So let's go to Chicago. I don't. I find the division very weird.
Oh, listen. I mean, we could go. We could do the. Listen, we'll do a lot of Bears at some point before the year.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Big advantage to the Bears.
Yeah, they got a lot better.
J.J. McCarthy, you're going to see it very quickly, is not what people think. And the Lions lost both coordinators. So whereas we look at the AFC West and go, God, that's a good division. We say that about the NFC North. We don't know about Jordan Love. We really don't. J.J. McCarthy is a C quarterback. You ever seen J.J. McCarthy's fourth quarter college stats and playing from behind fourth quarter stats in college? With Michigan and Harbaugh on that O-line, they're terrible. Detroit's pulling back because their O-line in the middle is a mess, and they lost both coordinators. That is a real bonus. That division we think is really it's well coached. I think the Bears have an opportunity to win 10 or 11 games. I don't think it's as good a division as people think.
Well, then they would be a double your win team if they can get to double digits. I mean, I think that having the level of coaching in that division is just very, very, very high, and so yes. I think that makes the worst team in that division. Like, let's say you're right about J.J. McCarthy. He still has Kevin O'Connell, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson. Like, they got Kirk Cousins to be near 5,000 yards. They got Sam Darnold $100 million. Like, J.J. McCarthy doesn't need to be awesome in order for that offense to be pretty good. And let's say Minnesota's the worst team in the division this year. They won 14 games last year. It's a pretty good worst team if that's what they are. Or if the Bears are the worst team in the division, that's a pretty tough worst team. So, like, even if they're not top-heavy dominant, I don't see there being any team in that division that's just like straight up bad. There's no Cleveland Browns in that division. You know, there's no Jets, there's no Giants, there's no pushover there. So I think that's what's going to make it tough, is that they each just have to play each other 6 times, and the team that does the best in that division might go 4-2. You know, they might just beat each other up this year.